Welcome to Alaska EdVenture, Lessons from the K-12 Frontier, with your host, Dr. Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. This podcast is your gateway to the heart of Alaska's educational landscape, where each episode features guests sharing their unique perspectives. We are bringing together voices that shape education in the last frontier. Join us as we explore the challenges, triumphs, and innovations in Alaska's K-12 classrooms.
Welcome to Alaska EdVenture. I'm your host, Dr. Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. And joining me today is Bri Gray. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Student Support Services Department and how it supports our families and students. So, Bri, I want to just open up and say, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today. And let's hear a little bit about you and what brings you to the Fairbanks North Starborough School District.
Yeah, so my name is Bri Gray. I go by Bri. So I'm originally from King Cove, Alaska. We moved to Anchorage when I was in elementary school. And then my mom received a job here at UAF working with Bernice Joseph in the Indigenous Studies program. So we moved here, went to Ryan Middle School, and then graduated from West Valley High School. Go back, yes.
Shout out to the Wolfpack.
Yes. Like and then went to UAF where I graduated, moved out of Alaska for a little while, and then came back. And I always knew I wanted to be in education. That was something that I was really passionate about. Actually, when I was at West Valley, I was also, I played basketball. And I was not the best student. And so I was put into a mediation class. And that's when I learned that, wow, I really love education. I love what it not only brings to me for my mind, but also for my overall wellness. And I learned how to help other students. And then I started coaching basketball at Nordale Elementary, which was a lot of fun. And that just brought something new to me as a person, because I think the adults in my life in the school system knew that I was struggling with things at home, knew that I was struggling with things just overall. So I had a good support system. And so I knew I wanted to be in education. And then I started working and teaching at the university. I still am an adjunct faculty member up there. And then I came here as the Alaska Native Education Director, and then the Federal Programs Director, and now the Executive Director of Student Support Services.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Well, you know, our school district is so lucky to have you, and we're thankful that you made your way back to Alaska and helping our students out. You know, a lot of commonalities with your stories. I have a connection with Bri. I spent a lot of time down in the Aleutians and Sandpoint, Alaska. And so when I heard Bri was from King Cove, immediately we had a connection. I was like, oh, I love King Cove. It's such a beautiful community. And that Aleutians East Borough is such a great place, and definitely have some fond memories of that. So you bring that to your work, which is super cool. And then connection and coaching as well. So that's how I found my way to education. I've told that story a lot, but as a ski instructor, that's where I fell in love with working with students and, you know, making the decision to become an educator and a lifelong learner. And so let's talk a little bit. Let's dive into Student Support Services. For those that don't know, Student Support Services is one of our largest departments in the school district. And it's a big mystery to a lot of people. So what is Student Support Services?
You know, it's funny because I am often asked, you know, what do you do? You know, I work in Student Support Services, and it's so large. And our Student Support Services Department provides supplemental supports to students, schools, and families. It is really large. Our funding source is mostly grants, which is really exciting. We're able to really be creative. I think the biggest thing when you think of student support services is that we have so many different programs that are able to provide supplemental supports to families, students, and schools. And also we invest in our people. I think that's something that's really important too. We provide a lot of professional development to be able to have really skilled, really awesome people who are working with our students, families, and schools.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of professional learning that happens through student support services. When you say supplemental supports, like what does that mean?
Yeah, so anything in addition to what we are providing at our schools. So I guess a good example I can provide at our Title I schools, those schools have supplemental supports to provide extra tutors, or right now, Arctic Light, shout out to Arctic Light, they're doing some professional development for playground, how to be an effective team and build confidence in students in playground and playing. So those are some of the things that we provide in terms of supplemental support.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's really interesting. Can you go into the Arctic Light playground and play a little bit more? That's the first time I'm hearing about that program that they've got going on.
Yes, I would also like to give a shout out to our school social medias. Follow our school social medias on Facebook. They provide a lot of information about what they're doing in their schools, and it's really exciting to see. I know Arctic Light recently posted about this on their Facebook, so they hired a group to come in and provide professional development during their staff so they can use their time effectively and efficiently during recess time. And so how are you building teams during recess? How are we working with students during recess? How are you building leadership skills within our students at recess time to be able to make sure that we are building better behaviors, building better relationships, and building stronger teams within the staff?
Oh, I love that so much. I mean, one of the things missing in children's lives today is that unstructured play, and they learn so many things through that. And so the ability to capture that in the school environment and help students with that, I think, is so critical, right? Like our students are needing to learn all of these lifelong skills, and our schools and our student support services department is there to help children out with that. So that's super awesome.
And I think also that leads into classroom management as well. So the types of professional development that we see that are happening that are fun, they're creative solutions to keep not only students engaged, but staff engaged, also helps with the classroom management, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have a well-structured classroom, there's going to be a lot of distractions and students can't get to those core academics. So any help that we can provide there is great, and I'm sure much appreciative from our teachers out in the field. So let's dive into some of your sub-departments for student support services. I'm going to go through a kind of a long list, and then you can pick up on which ones you want to touch on first. So Alaska Native Education, which you talked about, that was one of your first roles here in the school district. We have McKinney-Vento and foster care that works with our homeless students. Migrant education, after school programs. Maybe we'll talk about the lights on after dark resolution that's coming up. Title programs, AK Rises, Project Aware, SELP, and I think that's just the very tip of the iceberg of all the things you do as a student support services department.
Absolutely. One of the things that we just recently did a community event with Alaska Native Education and ELL. We had at Ryan a celebration of cultures, and that is a community event that we've held for many years. And this year was so much fun. We have many types of food. We celebrate different cultures. Our community comes together, and I always say it's one of the events of the year that we get to just have fun. There's no pressure. There isn't any. There's just so much fun. And so that happened. We had over 200 individuals there. Our staff was really well at just being effective and efficient and setting up, breaking down, and just seeing that whole process. So that was really fun. Last year, I thought something that was really cool. Our Alaska Native Education program also includes the Alaska Room, and we have elders in the Alaska Room. We have our program coordinator who does an amazing job, and we work with schools to bring culture to the schools. So we come to schools, we provide professional development, we hold different events. And last year we worked with Weller Elementary and had a Fiddle Fest. Ooh. And that was so awesome. Seeing different parents come in with their different expertises and their different cultures, and providing professional development with their staff so they can feel confident in holding these events and celebrating cultures, and including that in their curriculum, including that in their classroom is so important. So that was a really fun event that we held, but that also contributes professional development. Also, we provide resources, so different types of literature and different types of crafts and learning enhancements. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have a follow-up podcast on A&E. I don't know if I told Bri this or not, but we definitely are. And we're going to go do a deep dive into our Alaska Native Education program. One of the things I'm passionate about is ensuring our Alaska Native students are receiving a quality education. And what are some ways that we could break down barriers to ensure that they're receiving a successful education and that they're finding success within our school district. So I can't wait to jump into that podcast with you and talk more about what you're doing in A&E and a little bit more about the Alaska Room too, because it's such a great resource for the school district. Let's hop over to talking about McKinney-Vento.
Yeah, so our McKinney-Vento and foster care programs, they are so instrumental in making sure that our students and families are successful. And really the point of these programs is being able to ensure that those students have the same or equal abilities to be successful in school, and that we're making sure that we're connecting them to schools. Some of the things that we've been doing that have been a lot of fun, our gardening club, we provide transportation support, tutoring support for students. And so those supplemental supports that we are able to provide for students is just so incredible. We have a social service manager who works directly with these students as our McKinney-Vento and foster care liaison. And she's been great on just really connecting families. We also have a family engagement assistant who works with those programs. And a lot of our programs have a lot of overlap. So students who might be in McKinney-Vento foster care might also be in the Alaska Native Education Program, our migrant program, and also might be at some of our title schools. So collaboration with not only our schools, students, and families, but with our communities as well is really important to be able to provide services and those supplemental supports that students need. And the whole purpose of these programs is really to ensure that students have the ability to be successful and whatever that means to them. Does that mean that they're getting to school? Does that mean that they are increasing their grades? Does that mean that they are being a good person within their schools? And so we are there to really break down barriers through collaboration.
I'm great. I'm really glad that you mentioned it's a layered approach for a lot of students. You know, it's not a one size fits all, and that a lot of students have access to many different programs and supports within your department. That's an important distinction there. Let's jump over to after school programs. What do you have happening in after school programs?
Yes. Wow. So the 21st Century After School Programs is such an amazing program. We have our after school program at different schools, and it is based off of enrollment. And the purpose of our after school program is really to build academic success, building confidence. There's a lot of social emotional learning that goes into our after school programs. Many of our individuals who work in after school programs are individuals who have worked with after school programs while they were in school, have been part of the after school program. So it's really cool to see individuals working in our programs who are part of that and are really here because they want to be. And they're really just so passionate about being able to provide these different services to students. I think one of my favorite things is when they are doing their summer programming and we get to go and we get to see that they have a choice in what they want to do for the day. And that just builds so much confidence in our students. And then also the community partners that come in and provide snacks. They come in and provide different presentation and structured activities for students. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely a huge shout out to our community partners. This summer was a great example of that for providing meals and snacks for a lot of our summer programs. They provided a ton of food and donations so that we were able to feed our students. So that was really important there.
Shout out to our community.
Yeah. And shout out to the teachers. I liked how you talked or our after school program staff, but really all of our student support services staff, the passion that they have for helping our students is amazing. And I'm just always so thankful that we have such dedicated individuals here in the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District to ensure our students are successful.
Oh, absolutely. And if you ever go to one of their trainings and their professional developments, they are so fun. They're so fun. They do a really great job at incorporating just many different aspects of their professional development, and everyone is able to be fully prepared to be able to take on those roles. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. I want to touch a little bit and stay here with after school programs. Like, what types of things do kids get to do in after school programs?
Oh man. So one of the things that they got to do last year, which was a little fun, they got to learn about volcanoes, and they had all these awesome just science activities that they did. They have some 3D printing that they do. They get to do some cooking. There's so many different things. They have active time in the gym, which is a lot of fun. So they get to really choose some of the things that they're doing. And also I think what's exciting is that they're teaching them how to be confident. I think that's something that I keep saying, but when students are confident and they're able to have a choice in the activities that they're being engaged in, and they're also really fun, that wants them to be part of their education. And we've heard so many different stories of students saying, I want to come to school because I want to go to after school programs. And how fun is that? So ensuring that there's a safe space for students who are really having fun with their learning, and doing different things like that, 3D printing. There's drama club. Lathrop has different drama activities that they do. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great segue. We're going to come back to some of those sub-department conversations a little bit, but talking specifically about SEL, and SEL in today's world has kind of gotten almost a bad term sometimes. People are like, focus on education, not SEL. But I do want to bring some research into it. And, what I think about SEL, what that kind of means for the school district and where we're headed with it. And so research does show that SEL, social emotional learning, not only improves achievement by an average of 11 percentile points, but it also increases pro-social behaviors such as kindness, sharing, and empathy. It improves students' attitudes towards school. Who doesn't like that? And it reduces depression and stress among students. And so for our students to really get to those core academics, to be able to focus on school, sometimes supports are necessary. And when we're talking about social emotional learning, some of the things that we're working with our students on, self-awareness. Self-awareness involves understanding of one's own emotional, personal goals and values. We're also talking about self-management. Self-management requires skills and attitudes that facilitate the ability to regulate one's own emotions and behaviors. Social awareness. That means social awareness involves the ability to understand, empathize, and feel compassion for those with different backgrounds or cultures. Relationship skills. Our students need relationship skills in this age of technology. It's not relationship through a phone, right? Like, how do we interact with each other? And that helps students establish and maintain healthy and rewarding relationships and to act in accordance with social norms. And then lastly, responsible decision-making. Responsible decision-making involves learning how to make constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions across diverse settings. So nothing wild or radical or fringe about this, right? We're trying to raise great humans and help support students in our school so they're not only successful within the school, but as they transition in and out of our schools.
Absolutely. I think, when I'm thinking about social emotional learning, one of the things that I think about, I talked about when I was at West Valley, I had a mediation class, and that was because my behavior just wasn't, I was a teenager, I was going through things. And so my behavior was not what it was supposed to be. And going through that mediation class, learning how to engage with my peers, learning how to, regulate my own emotions was something that I use as a tool today and has helped me not only in my work life, but also I have 2 kids, being a parent in all aspects of life. And so there are many different things that could be included in social emotional learning. One of the things that we did over the summer was we took some students to an elders and youth camp with Nakanaga, and that was a lot of fun. We were able to learn patience. We were able to learn about different cultural values that also can be included as social emotional learning. Family engagement. We work with a lot of schools to increase family engagement. Our title schools have family engagement plans. We had a family engagement professional development. We work with many different schools on what family engagement means. That's social emotional learning. We have social service managers in the schools who are able to connect families with resources. That's also social emotional learning. Classroom management, social emotional learning. Just little things. Just knowing your students' names, that could be included as social emotional learning. So there's so many different levels to social emotional learning. It isn't anything that's, I would say, taboo, but it's really just getting to know students, getting to know families, connecting them with resources, and just thinking of the whole child.
Yeah, excellent. Well, and I'm so glad you're the person leading this charge for our school district, because you have just such a well-rounded breadth of knowledge and ability to connect with people and really helping our students through this. The last thing I want to touch on a little bit is mental health. And so we know a lot of our students are struggling in the mental health world. And so what are some supports that we have for supporting positive mental health for students?
Yeah, so we work directly with 2 grants, Project Aware and AK Rises. And this allows us to provide referrals to students to go to who our local community partner is Alaska Behavioral Health to go see mental health professionals. We have some schools that have mental health professionals in the schools as well. So based on referrals and parental consent, they can receive those services. So the point of those grants is really to reduce barriers and access to these mental health supports. We also have prevention aides, behavior aides, social service managers, and counselors in the schools who also provide support to students as well. Our social service managers are fairly new positions, and it's been really exciting to see how these positions have grown and how they help students in our community. And a lot of the times the things that we're seeing are just limited access to some things that they might need. So limited access to food, limited access to winter gear, and our social service managers are able to build those connections with families to be able to provide students and families with things that they need, whether it's a temporary need, whether it's a long-term need. They're able to connect them with community resources as well.
Absolutely. So if I'm a family and I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, oh, I really want, a support for one of my students, how do they go about accessing some of those supports that we've talked about today?
Absolutely. So we have a student support services webpage that has all of our contact information. So it has our emails, it has different forms that you can submit for requests, and our phone numbers. We are also located in a downtown building, 525th Avenue. We have program coordinators here who can also connect you directly with staff who are in our schools. And so we also have multiple staff throughout the school district, and you can find more information on our Student Support Services webpage.
Man, we're so fortunate here in the Fairbanks North Starborough School District to have all of these supports for our students. Of course, we're going to continue to go after grants and other funding opportunities to continue to provide more, but we are fortunate as a school district to be able to provide everything that we talked about today. So anything else that you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
Yes, again, if you think of Student Support Services, again, I think the main thing is collaboration and community. Our vision statement is supportive and engaging learning communities. And that's exactly what we are. We invest in our people to make sure that they're able to do the jobs that they're doing. We invest in our schools. We are a typical day for us is just a crazy amount of phone calls, a crazy amount of emails for those supports that are definitely needed in our schools. So it's exciting to be able to collaborate with schools. We work with all of our schools across the district. It's exciting to work with families and exciting to work with our communities to make sure students are reading the supplemental supports that they need.
All right. Well, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you one more time to Bri Gray.
Bri.
I know.
He doesn't even.
I was like Brianna because I always call her Bri, but thought we could have a formal moment there.
Yes, Brianna.
But
maybe be Brianna. You said it.
All right. Well, thank you, Bri, for joining us on the podcast today, and thank you for all the work that you do in supporting the Fairbanks North Starborough School District students.
Yes, and thank you for being so supportive.
Absolutely. This was fun.
So much fun.
Thank you for embarking on this Alaska EdVenture with us. Hit that subscribe button and we'll meet you on the next episode.